glorious morning. Welcome back to From the Shed and welcome back to the channel. If you're new, as always, hit that subscribe button before you do anything else. Now, of course, we have to start with the big news. The big news coming out from the Athletic as well is around the Club World Cup. 1 month ago today, we won the Club World Cup, successfully beating PSG 3-0. Brilliant goals from João Pedro and Cole Palmer to secure that. Now, the reason I bring the Club World Cup is because we've actually now been informed through the Athletic that £10 million is what the players will be receiving as part of the bonuses for winning the Club World Cup. One of the good things that I read this morning and woke up to this brilliant news that the players and the club have also decided between them as a club and as players that they will be donating at least a 50% proportion of the earnings that were made from the Club World Cup. The bonuses will be going to Diogo Jota and Andre Jota, their families, in terms of the tragedy that they suffered. Of course, Pedro Neto very close to Diogo Jota and Andre Jota as well. So I'm sure. And look, both players are probably, have insurance or have things that will cover them, their families for the rest of their lives. But I think it's a very, very nice gesture from Chelsea in terms of, the rivalry. Liverpool, Chelsea have this big rivalry. When things like that happen in football, in any walk of life, in sport, the one thing that brings people together, unfortunately, is tragedies and, things that happen. And this is one of those moments, of course, Liverpool, Chelsea have a big rivalry, but, for two players to lose their lives in the way that they did, we documented that on the channel when the unfortunate news broke. But I think for the club to do that, for me, it just shows a level of class. It just shows a level of class. Do the families need it? We don't know. Do we care? We don't. It's just a very lovely gesture from the players and the management team, to give a proportion of the club winnings to the families of both the Jota brothers. So I was really impressed, really happy to read that this morning, just because I think it's such a good thing to do. You want to see good things and good gestures. So credit to the team, credit to the boys. 1 month ago, 1 month we won the Club World Cup, and look, it feels like ever since we won the Club World Cup, things have been progressing really, really well for us. I should have said, actually, I didn't even say. As you can see, surroundings are very different. There's no mic, just me. In the hotel room at the moment trying to record this. So if it looks a bit different, if it sounds a bit mad, that's why. But next news is around Christopher Nkunku, because Christopher Nkunku is still a massive target for the Bundesliga. We thought initially this was going to be a deal potentially for RB Leipzig to come in, swoop in, get their man back, get him back to good football, help the Xavi Simons deal go through. But it looks like now, according to a lot of reports, Bayern Munich are front runners to try and get Christopher Nkunku's signature, get him back to Germany, and hopefully he can do what he done for RB Leipzig in the Bundesliga for the champions of Germany. Now, Nkunku is still very much, I think, in Maresca's plans. We got to see him in the Club World Cup. It could be that if this deal doesn't go through, it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world if we don't get Christopher Nkunku out of the club, because I think he still has a role to play. And also as well, this Xavi Simons deal has been dragging and dragging and dragging. The more the days go on, the likelihood is that we potentially won't be signing him. So if we don't sign him, we do need extra cover, I believe personally. Someone like Christopher Nkunku still has a role to play at Chelsea, in my opinion. But if we move him on and it helps, progress the Xavi Simons deal, then so be it. But it looks like Bayern Munich are the front runners for Christopher Nkunku. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of twists and turns before the transfer window shuts with Christopher Nkunku's deal. I think he's a player that can offer a lot in terms of what he can do on and off the ball. It just hasn't worked for him at Chelsea, and I'm not sure if that's a player manager banging of heads, or if it's just the fact that he just hasn't climatized well to Premier League English football. We don't know, but it looks like he's on the move. It looks like he's going to go back to Germany, maybe to Bayern Munich. We don't know. Of course, the David Datcher Fofana and Axel Dazazi news came out. If you check our social accounts, the link is in the description. Axel Dazazi and David Datcher Fofana, double swoop from Wolves. It looks like a total combined fee of £50 million will be done for both players to go to Molineux. Hopefully that happens. Look, David Datcher Fofana came with some hope. It never worked. We can put a massive red X next to that one. Dazazi showed us glimpses that he can play very well with central defense, but he's poor. He's poor. He's poor. So we've got to get him out. Get him out of the club. And if we can get a double 50 mil for those two players, we are the kings of selling players. We are. We are the kings of selling players. They need to get them on homes under the hammer, get them to sell some houses over there. But last bit of news. Last bit of news surrounds one of the legends at the club, and that is John Terry. According to many sources, many reports, and an interview that was done very recently, John Terry has confirmed that he has given up on managerial roles in the future due to the fact that he's been for roles previously and hasn't been successful. And he's also very happy being in the Chelsea Academy and nurturing and developing the next set of talent to come out of Cobham and get them into the senior squad. He's happy to do that at Chelsea at the moment. He also said in this interview that he's happy to do this on a part-time basis, and he's also able to play golf and see his family and travel the world and do all the things that he potentially never got to do as a footballer. Now, John Terry for me would always still make a very good manager. If you remember back, he had the time with Dean Smith at Aston Villa. He's done very well in terms of the coaching roles that he's had. And you always thought with John Terry, he's very much a leader on the pitch, very much a vocal person in terms of, his leadership skills and qualities that we've seen as a Chelsea captain. So you did think the next step for John Terry eventually would be to go into management and be able to do something in that, even if it's at the championship level. Maybe looking at Wayne Rooney. Let's be honest, that crop of the English players that we grew up on, Wayne Rooney, we can maybe throw Frank Lampard in there, although he did get top four with us, but Frank Lampard has to be in there. You could even go back as far as like a Paul Ince, haven't done well. There's so many English managers that just haven't. Gary Neville, another one, Phil Neville, hasn't gone well for any English manager, any ex-England player that hasn't really gone on to be a successful England manager. And I don't mean England international team. I just mean an English manager in the Premier League. It hasn't gone well. So maybe he's looked at some of those players. uh, maybe Michael Carrick is probably one that's done okay, but you have to think, are these players that are ex-players able to transition that into a managerial role? He's probably looked at a lot of those managers now and realized the pressure that they're under, the scrutiny all the time, the manager merry-go-round that they're constantly on, already in their early stages of their managerial careers. Maybe he's looking at that and thinking, actually, I don't want a part of this. I'm happy to be at Chelsea. And I don't think the door's ever going to be shut at him at Chelsea. I think if a role came up that was sufficient, under 18s manager, under 21s development squad, I think John Terry would take it. You never know. I think he's Chelsea through and through. We know that. So I think he will potentially, maybe he's just putting that out there to say, look, I've had opportunities, I haven't got the jobs. Because he's done a podcast, I think, with Simon Jota not too long ago, and he spoke about his managerial issues and not being able to get the roles and having the skills, the qualifications, but just not being able to hit the target to secure a job. So maybe he's waiting for his time at Chelsea, and you never know. We might see him as the future Chelsea manager. We just never know. But the season is almost upon us. So if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button on this channel. Like this video, leave your thoughts in the comments. I'm going to be trying to do some more videos whilst I'm away. The podcast will be back as well. Make sure you check out all our social accounts. We'll be back very soon with another video. Thank you very much for watching.